Welcome back to Inhibition. Today's topic, Kyle Rittenhouse. We're going to break down the facts and the evidence and go through the details to determine was it self-defense or murder. It's time we talk about it. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to jump into the topic of Kyle Rittenhouse today. Before we do, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment on the video. Kyle Rittenhouse, is it self-defense or murder? Now, if you've never heard of the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting, you'll get all the details today. This happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin during a Black Lives Matter protest for Jacob Blake, and we're going to break all the details down for you, but I want to go ahead and right off the bat make my position known from the beginning for a very important purpose. I want to go ahead and let you know that I wholeheartedly believe this was absolutely self-defense. Now, we're going to make that clear through the evidence. We're going to break down the evidence in this video. I want to go ahead and put that out right from the beginning, and here's why. If you're watching this video and you believe Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer, you believe he's a domestic terrorist, whatever it is that you believe about him, a lot of times we come to our conclusions based on very minimal video or evidence we've seen, and primarily because of narratives we've been told. And I think it's very important to dig into the evidence and actually look at facts before making a conclusion. So I have come to my conclusion that it is self-defense, not based on any political agenda, not based on anything anybody's told me, not based on any one particular news source. I have come to the conclusion it is self-defense based solely on the evidence, which I'm going to present to you in this video. So if you care about facts, evidence, and reality, and you don't want to live in an echo chamber, then I highly encourage you, watch this video, and then at the end, make up your own mind whether you believe it was self-defense or murder. And we're going to break this all down in this video. I do want to go ahead and give a warning right from the beginning. This will have a lot of video clips from the events themselves as they unfolded during the night of the shooting. And in those video clips, there is quite a bit of language in the background. So I do want to make sure you're aware of that. Now, let's just jump into this. First of all, let's look at the context. What started this entire thing? In Kenosha, Wisconsin on August 23rd, 2020, the police actually responded to a 911 call about a domestic issue involving Jacob Blake. The woman who called 911 stated she had a restraining order against Blake. Turns out that restraining order was for sexual assault, and he also happened to have an active warrant for that assault. He was there and he would not leave and had taken her keys. When the police attempted to intervene and arrest Blake, he fought with them with a knife, and then he went to get into the car to flee with two small kids in the back seat. An officer attempted to stop him, but when he could not, he shot him 7 times in the back. Now, the context of this video is not to discuss the Jacob Blake shooting, whether it was justified or unjustified. That is not the point of this video. We'll have another video on police shootings and the Jacob Blake shooting specifically. That'll be coming out on the channel in the near future, so keep an eye for that. But that's not the point of this video. This is just giving you a context. I'm going to go ahead and show a video of the Jacob Blake shooting. Again, the shootings are going to be in these videos.
Get my son! Get my son! Get my son! Get my son! Come here, TJ! TJ! You are bogus! This bogus! My kid is Mom, get back! Mom! 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 You have to get back!
Wow!
Get my son! Get my son! Come here, TJ! TJ! You are bogus! This bogus! My kid is Mom, get back! Mom! 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 You have to get back!
So that shooting right there of Jacob Blake led to BLM protests breaking out in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Now, I want to be clear right off the bat. I fully support the right to peaceful protest. I fully support what they were doing. Whether you think the BLM protests are justified in the sense of you agree or disagree with the Jacob Blake shooting, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, they have a right to protest, and whether you agree with why they're protesting or not, peaceful protest is a First Amendment right, and I support peaceful protest. These are some of the images from the peaceful protests for Jacob Blake. Very important to understand, we support wholeheartedly the right to peaceful protest. What we do not support is when protests turn to riots. And there is a difference between protesting, which I support, all those images, wholeheartedly support, and rioting. In Kenosha, the protest on August 24th, which was the day after, did turn violent. They did turn deadly. And they began to destroy property, which you do not have a right to. They began to destroy businesses, which you do not have a right to. And it caused a lot of pain and suffering to people in the community. Yes, you have a right to protest. You do not have a right to riot. And as you can see, in Kenosha, the rioting got pretty intense on the 24th of August. This is the context in which Kyle ends up at the protest on the 25th, the day after these riots broke out. So we'll talk about that more specifically in just a few minutes. But first, who is Kyle Rittenhouse? Who is this guy we are talking about? This is Kyle. He is a 17-year-old kid. He's actually 18 now. He was 17 years old at the time of the incident. And he's from Antioch, Illinois. That's where he lived at the time. He was a Trump supporter and he was a Blue Lives Matter supporter. Now, those two things are really irrelevant to the events that took place, but a lot of people, because he is a Trump supporter and because he is a Blue Lives Matter supporter, there are a lot of people who know that about him, and therefore, if they do not support Trump or they do not support Blue Lives Matter or they think both of those things are terrible, they assume bad intent from Kyle. It's important not to let those type of things, political disagreements, cloud our judgment about the facts and evidence. It is very important. So if you're watching this and you cannot stand Trump supporters and you think Trump supporters are racist and you think Trump supporters are bad and evil because they supported Trump, and if you think Blue Lives Matter is a racist statement and you think it's absolutely anti-Black Lives Matter and you think all these things, that's fine and you are welcome to your opinions, but that has no bearing on whether or not Kyle murdered someone. And it is important not to use political disagreements as justification to condemn someone without actual evidence. We need to look at the facts and evidence and put politics aside. So that's why I mentioned that he's a Trump supporter, a Blue Lives Matter supporter, because a lot of people are using that as their reason for their hatred of Kyle, which is causing them to not look at the facts and evidence of what actually happened. So don't be that person. Look into the details. It's very, very important. See, here's Kyle on the night of the protest on August 25th, 2020, the day after those riots had first broken out in Kenosha. He went armed. He was armed with an AR-15, and we'll talk about that gun specifically in a few minutes. But he was armed, and he went to the BLM protest. We need to dive into why he was in Kenosha. Remember, we said that he was from Antioch, Illinois. He lived in Illinois, but he's in Wisconsin. So it's important to figure out why he was there. Why was he in Kenosha? Did he go to Kenosha specifically for that protest? Why was he in Kenosha? And why was he in a completely different state? Well, first of all, a lot of people make a big deal about the fact that he was in another state. But when you actually look, Antioch, Illinois, which is in the bottom left of your screen, is only a 33-minute drive from Kenosha. So Kenosha, Wisconsin is 33 minutes from Antioch. As a matter of fact, you can see there that black line is the state border between Illinois and Wisconsin. Antioch, Illinois was actually it was within walking distance of the state border. So Kyle was, while he was technically in another state, Kyle was not traveling great distances to actually get to where he was. That's important. A lot of people live on the border of two different states, and they actually will travel across that border almost on a daily basis. Many people work across the border from where they live. This is a very common thing. And again, it was only 33 minutes from Kyle's home to get to Kenosha. So again, did he go to Kenosha specifically for the protest? Well, actually, no, he did not. Rittenhouse told the Post, he did an interview with the Washington Post. Rittenhouse told the Post he went to Kenosha on August 24th, the day before he went to the protest, for his job as a lifeguard. He told the Post he got off work at 8 p.m. and from there he went to Black's stepfather's house. That would be Dominic Black, which is his friend who lives in Kenosha. And he went to his house, and one of his sisters and Black spent the evening on the 24th, which is the night that the violent riots broke out, watching live streams of chaos erupting downtown. His sister confirmed this with the Post. So they did an interview with Kyle and an interview with his sister, and his sister backed up the very claims that Kyle made also. Kyle went to work as a lifeguard in Kenosha on the 24th. Rittenhouse did work in Kenosha County. He worked part-time as a lifeguard at the Pleasant Prairie Recplex, which is this picture right here. And according to a spokesman for the village-owned center, they confirmed it, he had been employed there for just about 20 days before August 26th. So he was indeed an employee in Kenosha. He went to work on August 24th, the day before he went to the protest, and then he spent the evening after he got off work at 8 p.m. in Kenosha at his friend's house, spent the night, and the next day, at some point during the day the next day, is when he decided to go to the protest. So he did not go to Kenosha specifically to go to the protest. Another claim that has been floating around that people continue to argue is, did Kyle have a gun when he crossed state lines? So he lived in Illinois. He had a rifle at the protest in Kenosha. Did he have that gun in Illinois and travel across state lines with a gun? Being his age and being the fact that it is Illinois, there are potential legal issues if he crossed state lines with a gun. Lake County, Illinois, State's Attorney Michael Neerham's office said in a statement that an investigation conducted by local police revealed the gun used in the Kenosha shooting was purchased, stored, and used in Wisconsin. Additionally, there is no evidence the gun was ever physically possessed by Kyle Rittenhouse in Illinois, the state's attorney's office added. Police in Antioch, Illinois led the investigation. Antioch is Rittenhouse's hometown, which is located 15 miles southwest of Kenosha. He did not have the gun in Illinois. It was, according to the investigation, it was purchased, stored, and used in Wisconsin. As a matter of fact, Dominic Black's stepfather confirms this. Police spoke to the Black stepfather who lives in Kenosha. According to Antioch police reports, the stepfather told police Black purchased the AR-15 for Rittenhouse in Ladysmith, Wisconsin, using Rittenhouse's money, but putting the gun in his own name. According to the police report, Black's stepfather told police when he learned that Black had purchased the rifle for the 17-year-old, he was not approving of Black buying this firearm for Kyle, and he refused to have the rifle housed anywhere other than his locked safe at his home in Wisconsin. The stepfather told police that he took the rifle out of the safe on August 24th and put it in the basement during unrest in Kenosha following the Blake shooting. The stepfather said that Black told him he and Kyle had been hired to perform security in Kenosha for a private business, and he told police he didn't realize the AR-15 was missing from his house on August 26. In other words, Dominic Black's stepfather admitted that he kept that gun in his house in a locked safe in Kenosha. Now, on August 24th, when all the violence had taken place, now remember, Kyle was already in Kenosha on August 24th when the violence took place. When all the violence started breaking out, he took the gun out of his safe that was in his garage and moved it to his basement, which would make sense. If violence is going on in the streets close to your house, you would want it in your basement rather than your garage that can be easily broken into. Makes perfect sense. He takes it out, puts it in his basement, and at some point, that is where Kyle got the gun from, was the basement. of that house in Kenosha, so he never crossed state lines with that gun. Kyle did not have the gun when he crossed state lines. He obtained the gun from Dominic Black's stepfather's house in Kenosha. The gun he had was a Smith & Wesson M&P 15. You'll see why that specific brand is important in just a few minutes, but this was the gun. It is an AR-15. It's Smith & Wesson M&P 15. Now, we need to talk about the legality of this gun. Kyle was 17 years old, and that raises the question of legality. He's underage. He's a minor. He's not 18. There are two primary issues in relation to legality: the purchase of the gun and the possession of the gun. Keep in mind, Kyle never had the gun in Illinois, only in Wisconsin, and firearm owners or users are subject to the firearm laws of the state that they are in. Since he only had the gun in Wisconsin, the only laws that are relevant are Wisconsin state laws when it comes to gun purchase and possession. That's important because some people are trying to use Illinois law to try to say Kyle is guilty based solely on Illinois law. Illinois law does not apply because Kyle never had the gun in Illinois. So all we need to look at is Wisconsin state law. So legality of possession. Kyle has been charged. This is from his criminal complaint that was filed in Kenosha County Circuit Court. 6 counts listed on that criminal complaint. The last count, count 6, is possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under the age of 18. And you can see here the above named defendant, Kyle, on or about Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, in the city of Kenosha, Kenosha County, Wisconsin, being a person under 18 years of age, did go armed with a dangerous weapon, contrary to section 948.60, subsection 2A, and 93951, subsection 3A. Wisconsin statutes, a Class A misdemeanor, and upon conviction may be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisoned not more than 9 months, or both. Now, it gives the Wisconsin statutes for the law. Let's look at 948.60. This is Wisconsin statutes annotations. This is 948, crimes against children, and specifically 948.60, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under the age of 18. You can see here in subsection 1, dangerous weapon means any firearm loaded or unloaded. Now, it goes on with further definition. This whole section deals with definitions, and it talks about electric weapons, which Kyle didn't have, metallic knuckles, all of these other things that Kyle didn't have. What's relevant to Kyle is that very first sentence, dangerous weapon means any firearm loaded or unloaded. Kyle had a firearm. We know he had the Smith & Wesson M&P 15, which is an AR-15 firearm, and we also know he shot with it, meaning it was loaded. Yes, Kyle has a dangerous weapon. That's why he's been charged with this statute. Subsection 2 of 948.60. A, B, C, and D here. Let's look at these. This is talking about the violation. Section 1 was about definitions. Section 2 is about violations. A, any person under 18 years of age who possesses or goes armed with a dangerous weapon is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Very important, Kyle did have a dangerous weapon as defined in Section 1, and he is under 18 years of age. So according to this, he would be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. It does say, except as provided in Part C, any person who intentionally sells, loans, or gives a dangerous weapon. Kyle didn't sell, loan, or give the dangerous weapon to someone under 18. He was the person under 18, so B there does not apply to Kyle. C talks about whoever violates Part B, which did not apply to Kyle, so don't have to worry about C there. And then D, a person under 17 years of age. Technically this would not apply, but it brings up section 938.18 and 938.183. Both of those just have to do with jurisdiction of juvenile court versus adult court. Doesn't really apply to Kyle because Kyle is indeed 17. Section 1 was definitions. Section 2 was violations. Then we get to subsection 3. Subsection 3 is exceptions. There are exceptions to this law. And so subsection 3A, it says this section does not apply to a person under 18 years of age who possesses or is armed with a dangerous weapon When the dangerous weapon is being used in target practice under the supervision of an adult, or in the course of instruction in the traditional and proper use of the dangerous weapon under the supervision of an adult. Well, that doesn't count to Kyle. He was not in target practice under the supervision of an adult and was not being trained with the weapon under the supervision of an adult. So the exception in 3A does not apply to Kyle. Subsection 3B says this section does not apply to a person under 18 years of age who is a member of the armed forces or National Guard and who possesses or is armed with a dangerous weapon in the line of duty. Kyle was not a member of the armed forces or the National Guard and was not in the line of duty, so the exception in 3B does not apply to Kyle. Now we get to subsection 3C. It says this section applies only, this law about being in possession of a deadly weapon under the age of 18. It applies only to a person under 18 years of age who possesses or is armed with a rifle or a shotgun. Kyle had a rifle. If the person is in violation of 941.28 or is not in compliance with 29.304 and 29.593. So what it's saying is that this law that says he would be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor if he was in possession of a deadly weapon, it only applies to him if he has a rifle or a shotgun if he's in violation of 941.28 or not in compliance with 29.304 and 29.593. So the law banning people under 18 from carrying a dangerous weapon does not apply to a person under 18 if they are carrying a rifle or a shotgun. Kyle had a rifle, and they are not in violation of 941.28, 29.304, or 29.593. So let's break down what is 941.28, 29.304, and 29.593. 941.28. This is crimes against public health and safety. 941.28 specifically says possession of a short-barreled shotgun or short-barreled rifle. And then it breaks this down. It gives you the definition of what rifle means, and then it breaks down what is a short-barreled rifle. And it specifically says short-barreled rifle means a rifle having one or more barrels, having a length of less than 16 inches, or a rifle having an overall length of less than 26 inches. So if the barrel of the gun is less than 16 inches, or the overall length of the rifle is less than 26 inches, then it is a short-barrel rifle. Otherwise, it is not. Being in violation of this would mean that you are in possession of a short-barreled rifle or shotgun, in Kyle's case, a rifle. So we need to see, did Kyle have a short-barreled rifle? Again, remember, 16 and 26 are our key numbers. 16 inches and 26 inches. So Kyle had a Smith & Wesson M&P 15. This is directly from Smith & Wesson's website. Smith & Wesson M&P 15. And it specifically states the barrel length is 16 inches exactly. In order to be a short-barreled rifle, it would have to be less than 16 inches. His is not less than 16 inches. The overall length of the rifle is 36.625. It says in order to be a short-barrel rifle, it has to be less than 16 inches of the barrel or less than 26 inches for the overall length. And the overall length of this is well over 26 inches. So he was not in possession of a short-barreled rifle. So he was not in violation of 941.28. We've got one of our three requirements to see if Kyle qualifies for this exception. The next thing is it says he cannot be out of compliance with 29.304. 29.304, this has to do with restrictions on hunting and use of firearms by persons under 16 years of age. Notice it talks about under 16 years of age. This does not apply to Kyle. Kyle was not under 16. He was 17 years of age. So he was not out of compliance with this particular statute. So he was not in violation of 941.28. He was also not out of compliance with 29.304. So there's one left, 29.593. 29.593 specifically is a requirement for certificate of accomplishment to obtain hunting approval. You can see repeatedly that you need to obtain approval authorizing hunting unless you have a certificate of accomplishment. In order to get an approval for hunting, you have to have a certificate of accomplishment. It talks about obtaining approval for hunting, talks about obtaining an archer hunting license, talks about approval for authorizing hunting. Any person who is subject to Section 1 may prove compliance with these other things. They have to have a certificate of accomplishment and approval authorizing hunting that was issued. This statute does not state you must be hunting in order to be in compliance. It simply says that you must obtain a hunting certificate in order to hunt. If you are not hunting, you do not need that certificate. Kyle was not hunting and therefore did not need the certificate. Therefore, he was not out of compliance with this statute. So he was not in violation of 941.28. He was not out of compliance with 29.304. He was not out of compliance with 29.593. Because Kyle meets the exception in this subsection 3C of the statute, he is not guilty of breaking this law and was legally allowed to carry the rifle. Now, I know a lot of people get upset about this because they don't like the law. They don't like the fact that a 17-year-old is able to carry the rifle. Many people will even try to argue, well, the law was meant to allow 17-year-olds to hunt. It wasn't actually about just letting them carry the rifle anytime they want to. And I will agree that the intent behind the law originally was for hunting, but that's not how they wrote the law. And we do not get to condemn someone or convict someone for something that the law doesn't actually say. We have to go by what the law says. So he is not guilty of breaking this law. He was not illegally in possession of the gun. Now, let's talk about the purchase of the gun. First of all, the purchase of the gun actually happened well before the protest. That's important. The person who's been charged with this, however, is not Kyle. He has been charged with possession of the gun, which we already looked at and saw he was not guilty of. Dominic Black is the one who's been charged with the purchase of the gun, because it was Dominic Black who purchased the gun using Kyle's money. So we can see here Dominic Black has been the one that has been charged. This is his criminal complaint for his charges, and you can see 2 counts: intentionally giving a dangerous weapon to a person under age 18, and it specifically says he's charged based on 948.60 and 939.50. 939.50, that's just telling you they can be imprisoned. It's $10,000 for this type of class of felony. But the 948.60 is the actual charges. It's the actual statute that he's considered violated. And there's 2 counts of it. The reason it's 2 counts is because 2 people died. So the idea is he's charged with this crime twice because the gun was used twice to kill 2 different people, and it's a result of him purchasing the gun and giving it to Kyle. 948.60 we've already looked at. This is the same statute that Kyle was charged with. The only difference is Kyle was charged with, under subsection 2, he was charged with A, any person under 18 who possesses. That first section that Kyle was charged with doesn't apply to Dominic Black because he's over 18 and he didn't possess the gun. The issue is subsection 2B and 2C. 2B says, except provided in Part C, any person who intentionally sells, loans, or gives a dangerous weapon to a person under 18 years of age is guilty of a Class I felony. But then look at C. Whoever violates Part B is guilty of a Class H felony if the person under 18 years of age under Part B discharges the firearm and the discharge causes death to himself, herself, or another. Since Kyle did discharge the firearm and it did cause death to 2 other people, that is why he gets the Class H felony under Part C rather than the Class I felony under Part B. Part D doesn't apply because that's talking about a person under 17 years of age. So Part B and Part C are the only 2 that apply. However, remember, we have this subsection with exceptions. Subsection 3. Exception in Part A doesn't count. The exception in Part B doesn't apply. Neither one of those apply to Kyle or Black. But if you look at subsection C, this is the same exception that Kyle qualified for. It says this section applies only to an adult who transfers a firearm to a person under 18 years of age if the person under 18 years of age is not in compliance with 29.304 and 29.593, or to an adult who's in violation of 941.28. If you see 29.304 and 29.593, that's what we need to look at. Well, guess what? We already looked at it. Those were the ones that we saw that Kyle was not out of compliance with. So because Kyle meets the exception in subsection 3C of the statute, Dominic Black is not guilty of breaking this law either. And so neither one of them are actually guilty of those charges. So we've determined the gun was legal. He was completely legally carrying that gun. So let's talk about what happened the night of the shooting itself. What happened that night? What led to the events? Why did he even go to the protest? Well, according to Dominic Black in the criminal complaint charged by the prosecution, You can see here that it says on the evening of August 25th, the defendant, that would be Dominic Black in this criminal complaint, the defendant volunteered to go out after curfew armed with another Smith & Wesson M&P 15 and protect the car source business. He asked Mr. Rittenhouse to join him. So Kyle was at the protest because Dominic Black asked Kyle to go with him to protect a business, car source, in Kenosha. Let's hear what Dominic Black had to say.
Because I used to work for the owner of a company called Car Source. It's like a used car dealership.
Yep, I know exactly where it is.
Yeah. So they got their first lot burned, and they own 2 mechanic shops. One mechanic shop had already been set on fire halfway. Okay. They didn't burn the building down like they did the dealer. Yeah. They burned at least 3 cars. The owner asked us if we would go there. We could go on the roof. We could stand below. Just make sure they don't burn the whole place down or touch the cars, you know what I mean? Yeah. We go up there, we bring our guns, you know what I mean? Okay. We tell them if they go by the cars, we yell at them, get back, get back. We don't point, we don't shoot or anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? The guns are just in case they shoot at us or if we're on the ground. A lot of us have like medical stuff to help people who get hurt, okay. You know what I mean? So just in case we have to defend ourselves. Yeah.
What are you doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
Now that was Kyle Rittenhouse, and I want to point out real quickly before I move on from this image here, he has these blue gloves on, and a lot of people have made a big deal about that, like he was trying to hide fingerprints or some kind of crazy nonsense like that. He had a medical kit and he was helping injured people. We're going to see in a moment where he was actually helping injured people. When you're helping injured people where there's potentially blood, you're going to wear gloves. That's why he had gloves on. This isn't some kind of big gotcha. He wasn't doing it to hide fingerprints or anything crazy like that. He was helping injured people. There's blood, you're gonna protect yourself. That's all it was. But you can clearly see they went there to protect this business, and he was there helping injured people. He went to protect the car lot from being burned down. He also went there with a med kit to help injured people, including protesters. And he even explicitly says both Black and him both say they only had the rifles for self-defense purposes. Now, we can look at the evidence of that in just a moment. There's no evidence he was there with intent to harm people. He was actually there with clear evidence showing he was trying to help people. Keep that in mind.
There's a medic right here if you need help.
She got shot in the fucking. Shooting the shot? All right, we're gonna go over here. Cover. I need cover. I need cover.
I'm not is that cool? All the business. I am EMT. You are injured. Come to live. That's the business owners up there, y'all. That ain't the police. You got any injuries?
Yeah, right over here.
Bring them over here. We got a medic.
No, she's right behind you.
Oh, we'll not go in.
Thank you. You got nailed with a projectile. Kenosha.
As you can see, Kyle is trying to help injured people, and he wasn't just there saying he was there with a medical kit to help people. He actually was helping injured people. He was helping people who had been hit by projectiles. He was helping protesters. He wasn't there trying to harm the protesters. Every bit of evidence shows he was trying to help injured protesters.
Anybody need a medic? Anybody need a medic? Hey! Does anybody need medical?
So again, traveling around, asking people if they need help. He was in front of that business. He went up to this gas station, which is right there by the business. He went to the gas station multiple times, just checking on people, seeing if people needed help. Again, you can clearly see this over and over again in the videos of that night. He was trying to help injured people. This is him running with a fire extinguisher in his hand. You can see him here. It's going to kind of show it a couple times. It's real quick in the image of him running with it, but you can see he had a fire extinguisher. So he wasn't trying to hurt people. He wasn't trying to bring harm. He had a medical kit. His primary thing he was doing was helping injured people. But then he also had the fire extinguisher at one point in the night and is trying to help put out small fires and do what he could do to help the community. And again, before you say it wasn't his community, it was. It was 30 minutes from his home, and it was in the city he worked in. It was indeed his community. The evidence shows that Kyle was there to help his community and the people there, including the protesters, not to harm them. Some people have tried to argue that he went with intent to harm, or he went with intent to look for trouble, or he was with intent to shoot people, and there's no evidence to support that. Some people assume that because he had a rifle, that must mean he wanted to use it. He had intent to use it. But no, just because you carry a gun, which he has clearly shown was for self-defense, and he clearly has shown that he had the gun but had no intention of using it on the protesters or the people there because he was helping them. So he was not there with intent to use the rifle. He only took the rifle in case he was attacked. He would have something to defend himself. And some people say, well, you wouldn't take an AR-15, you would just take a handgun or something like that. First of all, it would be illegal for him to have the handgun, but we have proven that it was not illegal for him to have the rifle. And second of all, who says he had access to a handgun? We know he had access to this rifle. There's no evidence that he had access to any other type of gun. So you're going to take whatever weapon you have available to you for defense if you need it. And that's why he took it. Now, some people have actually clipped out evidence saying that, oh, he had this intent to harm people. There's a clip of a video by Kyle that has circulated on the internet where he says, "We don't have non-lethal. I'm fully prepared to protect this business." And it sounds as if, when it's edited, it sounds as if he's saying, I'm going to protect this business and I will do it by lethal means. But that's not what he was actually saying. And again, the media lies to people. Don't trust the media. Do your own research. Here is the full clip, and I'll explain it after how it got edited and cut.
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed by a person in the crowd.
So you had non-lethal, but you didn't respond.
We don't have non-lethal.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Now, if I can ask, can you guys step back? Medical, EMS right here. I am an EMT.
There's a medic right here if you need help.
EMT, what is it?
So you can see in this clip, what actually happened is that Kyle had gotten pepper sprayed by someone in the crowd. And the guy asks him, so you got pepper sprayed and you didn't respond with non-lethal. And Kyle responds, we don't have non-lethal. This is not him threatening lethal force. This is him actually saying, I didn't respond to getting pepper sprayed because I only have lethal force and I don't want to use lethal force against someone using non-lethal force. Pepper spray is not lethal force. He was in essence saying that he is not going to use his rifle, which he only has for self-defense, against someone who is just pepper spraying him or someone who is not actually using lethal force against him. This is actually evidence for Kyle having the gun only for self-defense and not for him having the gun to harm people. The secondary question right after that the guy asked, you're full on ready to defend this business, wasn't actually tied to the phrase that Kyle said about us not having non-lethal. He was responding to the pepper spray comment. He was not saying, I'm going to use this lethal force to defend this business and I'll shoot anybody who tries to attack it. That's not what he was saying, and that was clipped out of context and put on the internet and used by media because people lie. You need to start not believing everything shown to you in the media and start digging and looking for your own information, the actual evidence. This is evidence that Kyle had the gun for self-defense and only against a lethal threat against him. Very, very important. Now, some people argue that Kyle went to Kenosha, went to the protest in response to this. The Kenosha Guard put up which is a militia group that's in Kenosha. They put up a thing on Facebook trying to get armed citizens to protect our lives and property. They tried to call for armed citizens. And you can see over there on the far right, it says, any patriots willing to take up arms and defend our city tonight from evil thugs? No doubt they are currently planning the next part of the city to burn tonight. And you can see here people, commenting on that. And then the Kenosha Guard wrote to the chief of police and said, as you know, I am the commander of the Kenosha Guard, a local militia. We are mobilizing tonight and have about 3,000 RSVPs. We have volunteers that will be in uptown, downtown, and the entrances to other neighborhoods. Our effort has made national media. I ask that you do not have your officers tell us to go home or under threat of arrest, as you have done in the past. We are willing to talk to KPD, Kenosha Police Department, and open a discussion. It is evident that no matter how many officers, deputies, and other law enforcement officers that are here, you are still outnumbered. Thank you, Kenosha Guard Commander. Kenosha Guard put this out on Facebook, and people said, oh, Kyle saw this. That's why he armed himself. He went under the call of a militia group. This militia group has had some people claim that they have connections to white supremacy, and they are not. They are just a horrible group. Very well may be. I don't know anything about them, but they have nothing to do with Kyle. Even Facebook, Zuckerberg himself, in his video that he posted about this, said Facebook's investigation of the incident found no evidence that the shooter, Kyle, was following this Kenosha Guard event or was connected to the event or invited to the event in any way. So Facebook investigated and found no connection between Kyle and the Kenosha Guard. Now, this is interesting because there's a video where someone actually approaches Kyle and the other people he's with and asks, are you with the Kenosha Guard? They initially say no. Now Kyle responds, and you're going to see the video here in a moment. He responds and he says, well, sort of. And that seems like a weird response. And then he said, I live in Kenosha. He has no idea what the Kenosha Guard is. And the person asking the question gets that. And then he's like, oh, gotcha. In other words, yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. Kyle doesn't even know what the Kenosha Guard is. He's thinking, oh, Kenosha Guard. Now, Kyle didn't actually live in Kenosha. He's just trying to explain that he's from the area and not from out of the area, is what Kyle's trying to explain to the guy. He doesn't know what the Kenosha Guard is. So in his brain, he's just thinking, oh, yeah, I'm here to guard Kenosha because I'm with the area. That's what he's thinking. He doesn't know what it is. You can clearly tell that. And even the guy asking the question could tell that. That's why he's like, oh, gotcha, when Kyle says that. And that's why Kyle doesn't say, yeah, I'm with that group. He said, well, sort of, because he didn't understand what the guy was asking. He doesn't know what the Kenosha Guard is.
Oh, looks like we got some people over here. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you, sir?
Good, you guys keeping the peace?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You guys with the Kenosha Guard?
No.
No? Alright, just catching. Checking out. Sorta?
Yeah, I live in Kenosha.
All right on.
So how did we end up at the shooting then? Kyle's there. He's protecting businesses. He's helping injured people. He's putting out fires. How did we get to the shooting? So what happened is Rittenhouse soon became concerned about protesters injured in clashes with police. He went to provide first aid at a gas station. The gas station was pretty close to the business that Kyle was protecting. So he walked up to the gas station, and as he left the gas station after walking there to check on protesters, he tried to return to the mechanic shop, that business that he was protecting, but he found that police formations had blocked his way. They wouldn't let him through, and so he had to return back to the gas station. You can clearly see that in video.
Me and him are out here running and seeing if people get hurt.
But speaking of which, we need to go check to see if somebody got hurt again.
All right.
Understood.
Follow us, you're fine.
The guy there with Kyle, his name is Ryan Balk.
Gotcha. And do you work as an EMT normally?
Yes, sir. I just got the thing. I'm a lifeguard normally. I got my ALS.
Gotcha.
And I'm former Army infantry, and I got a whole bunch of travel training.
So Ryan was former Army infantry, and he had medical training from that. You can see here's the police starting to form a line, and if you look in the distance, you will see Kyle and Balk walking across the street past the police line. This is them heading up to the gas station.
Hey Kayla, thanks guys, welcome back. All right, so here's what we've got going on. I was not paying attention to my phone. Oh, I guess Mercado is over at that gas. Oh, I see him. I see him.
Now you can
Thanks,
see
Matt.
Balk over there on the right.
So actually, guys, here's what happened. I was not paying attention to my phone.
Holy shit! Anybody over here need any medical attention?
Again, they're asking for medical. Does anybody need help? And I want you to notice they're walking around with ARs, and many of the protesters aren't bothering them.
Guys fell back to that one. That's what it looks like.
Now this is important. Watch this. So before we continue playing this, you'll notice this random guy looks at Kyle and says, "I remember you. You were the one," and he was kind of holding his gun like he was pointing it down, and said, "Get out the car." Now, there's no video evidence of that ever taking place. And you're going to hear somebody in a moment. Listen closely. You're going to hear someone else who is standing right there during this conversation, and they are going to say, "That was someone else. This was not Kyle." Notice how Kyle doesn't confront the guy, doesn't try to get confrontational and say, "No, that wasn't me," and try to argue. Kyle doesn't want to stir the pot. He doesn't want to cause problems. Again, all of this completely contradicts the idea that he was there to cause trouble. He completely just walks away and keeps offering medical. He doesn't argue with the guy. He's not worried about trying to defend himself against the guy's claims. He just moves on with his life and continues to try to help people. But you'll, again, listen closely. You're going to hear a woman say, "That was someone else."
What, yesterday or today? What car? Over in the dealership? Sorry, I don't know.
So there she goes. She says that was somebody else. So again, you can see Kyle. He's been walking around the gas station, walking around this group of people, making sure nobody's injured. Still offering medical. He's walking back up towards the police line to head back to the business. Nobody needs medical.
I work at that business. I am at that business, sir.
Back that way for my people, man. For my people.
Notice that he cannot cross back to where the business was. He got cut off from the other group. And so now he's back out here. So again, everything that was reported there where it said, well, they supposedly did this or they claim they did this, it is backed up by evidence. He and Balk went down towards the gas station to see if other people needed help. There were injured people. He wanted to see if people needed help. So he goes there trying to help people. Once realizing nobody needed medical, everybody was good, he goes to head back to the business. Again, not looking to start confrontations, just going back to the business. But the police cut him off and block him.
Question, because like you cut out a couple times there.
Now this is Ryan Balk, who was with Kyle.
The first victim of the shootings, he made threats that were not on camera.
Correct.
And then what do you remember what he was even threatening?
He seemed to have a problem with the folks that were out there guarding the businesses and whatnot.
Right.
You know, we saw that exchange between him and another guy earlier in the night where he was, you know, telling him to shoot him.
Yeah.
And with me and Kyle, it was, if I catch one of you along, you're dead.
So he definitely, the theme of the crowd is not that everybody hated you guys, but that guy definitely, definitely had some issues.
Yeah.
And you can see this. This is Ryan Balk. This is the guy that was walking around with Kyle that also had the AR. And he was there. And you can see what he's saying. Absolutely. The theme of the crowd, people didn't seem to have an issue with him. A couple of people, you can tell, had an issue. But for the most part, people were fine. They were helping injured people. The protesters that were injured, they had no issue going in there and getting medical aid from them. There was no major issues. Now, there was a couple of issues a couple of times in the night with a few people, but the large majority of the crowd, no issues. They were not there starting trouble. Rosenbaum, Joseph Rosenbaum, according to Ryan Balk, threatened Kyle and Ryan and said, "If I catch you alone, you're dead." So Kyle was helping people with medical aid when he was trapped behind the police line and could not get back to the auto shop. At some point during this, Joseph Rosenbaum threatened to kill Kyle and Balk if he saw them alone. Keep that in mind. So Rosenbaum has now threatened them when all they're doing is trying to help people.
You young kids, I don't think you're terminology.
So this is Kyle. He's at that gas station. This is after he's been trapped. He gets a fire extinguisher. He's running up the road.
I'm going to back away from this so I can do the safety meeting. You ran through everyone?
Now remember where that police line is, okay? So he's running up the road the opposite direction from the police line. He's actually just kind of walking now. You'll see him in a moment. There's he is up there. You can actually see the fire extinguisher in his hand. And he's still hollering, "Does anybody need medical?"
Further.
There's Rosenbaum, who's also walking up the road. Rosenbaum's the guy with the shirt around his head.
Yeah, they definitely need that trash can to put their garbage out. Oh, he's blocking the road. So now we're out by Frederick.
So again, they're just walking up the road. There's Rosenbaum, who's a little ahead of Kyle.
Oh, so a large crowd over here. Smashing the SUVs.
Remember, Rosenbaum is the first person Kyle shot. So there's Rosenbaum a little ahead of Kyle. They're both walking up the street. Remember, Rosenbaum had threatened to kill Kyle if he caught him alone away from the group. And Kyle is alone away from the group. Somebody's starting a fire back there in the middle of the road. Get him, get him, get him. Rosenbaum takes off and starts chasing Kyle. Now you can hear Rosenbaum yell, "Get him, get him, get him." And he took off running. Now remember, Rosenbaum was ahead of Kyle walking up the street. Rosenbaum, and you can see it clearly from other angles, crouched down behind a car. He saw Kyle coming. He had threatened to kill Kyle earlier in the night if he caught him alone. It wasn't much earlier than this. He had threatened to kill him if he caught him alone. So he sees Kyle walking up the street, and him and this other guy, you saw the name pop up on the screen, Zeminski. We'll talk about Zeminski in a moment. But they are walking together. They were actually together, Rosenbaum and Zeminski, repeatedly throughout the night. You'll see that in other videos. But Rosenbaum hides. He gets behind a car, and as Kyle walks by, he yells, "Get him, get him, get him," and he takes off chasing and charging at Kyle. That causes Kyle to run. Now we're going to see tons of different angles of this shooting. I want you to pay close attention. Pay attention to all of the angles. Keep an eye on everything that's happening. and you'll see it repeatedly. Here's Kyle running away from Rosenbaum. One shot. 1, 2, 3, 4 shots. 1, 2, 3 shots. 3 sets of shots.
So the orders you hear about yelling no cameras, them is white boys. Yeah, that's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shooting. Oh, he shot him. Get back. Shot him, man.
There's Kyle. He's walking up to Rosenbaum, who's on the ground. Notice that Kyle doesn't immediately just run away after shooting Rosenbaum. Some people said he tried to flee the scene. Kyle was actually staying right there, and there's other people around. He's staying right there. He's trying to call and tell somebody what happened. And then, for some reason, he looks across and he takes off running after that. We'll find out why he ran in just a moment. But you saw a bunch of different angles there. Now, I want you to point out, and we're going to see this as we continue to look at this video evidence. There were 3 sets of shots. There was a single shot by itself. Then there was 4 shots, rapid, and then 3 additional shots. So there's 1 shot, then 4 shots, then 3 shots. Kyle only fired 4 of those. So the first shot was actually not Kyle, and we'll see who that was in just a moment. But somebody shot a gun first before Kyle ever shot his gun. Then Rosenbaum catches up to Kyle. Kyle shoots him 4 times, and then someone else shoots 3 additional times. So a total of 8 shots, only 4 of which were Kyle's. Keep that in mind, and we'll see that clearly in just a moment.
Yeah, that's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shooting. Oh, he shot him. Get back. Shot him, man. He shot him. Shot him, man. He laid him out. He laid him out, you guys. He laid him out.
That guy that took off his shirt, that's Richard McGinnis, or Richie McGinnis. He is the guy that interviewed Kyle earlier in the night.
Hey, boys.
Here goes Kyle running, Rosenbaum chasing him. Rosenbaum has a plastic bag, and then they have metal poles.
Oh, we got a gun, baby.
First shot. No, it says likely not fired by Kyle. We actually know for sure it was not fired by Kyle now. We'll see that in a minute. And this was likely the first person to shoot. We'll see who that is in just a moment.
Oh, we got a gun, baby.
Shoots into the air. Gun into the air. Shoots.
They shooting. They shooting.
Pursuer, which is Rosenbaum, catches up to Kyle. Kyle shoots 4 times. The next 3 shots sound very different. You can tell from the sound of that, it's 2 completely different guns, 2 completely different shooters, the way they're shooting. So it's one shooter pulled the trigger first and shot 1 shot into the air. Then Rosenbaum catches up to Kyle. Kyle shoots him 4 times. Then Kyle runs around the car that was there that he was kind of beside when he shot Rosenbaum. He runs around the car, circles back around, and while he's doing that, someone else shoots 3 additional shots. Now, who was that first shooter? We actually know his name is Joshua Zeminski. Remember I told you we saw Zeminski's name on that video. Zeminski is actually the one who fired the first shot, and this isn't just guess, he has admitted it. This is his criminal complaint. He's also been charged, and here's what it says in his criminal complaint. In another video, the defendant and Kelly is Zeminski's wife, are seen walking near a fire in the area of the Ultimate gas station lot. In later video, the defendant's right arm is seen on the video. We saw him raise his arm. Detective Howard reports the defendant's arm pointing the gun upwards towards the sky. Detective Howard observed the muzzle flash emit from the handgun and heard a gunshot at the same time. In another video, the defendant is clearly seen at the same location. The defendant is seen walking in the same area, holding his right arm upwards and firing off one shot from his handgun. The defendant and his wife are then seen leaving the area. Several other people are in the nearby vicinity when the defendant fires the handgun. Detective Howard was later able to arrange a meeting with the defendant and Kelly Zeminski on October 7, 2020. In speaking to them, both admitted that the defendant had fired off a warning shot into the air during the night of August 25, 2020. They further stated that the firearm in question had subsequently been stolen from the defendant's residence several days prior, which I find very convenient that that gun was stolen before they admitted it to the police what actually happened. But you can see there's video evidence of Zeminski and his wife, Zeminski being the one to pull the trigger first and shoot a warning shot into the air. And he admitted it to police. So that very first shot you hear in that video is not Kyle shooting, it is Zeminski. So this shot from Zeminski is actually what caused Kyle to stop and turn around. Kyle was running away, remember? So Zeminski fires into the air. Kyle stops and turns around, clearly to see if he's being shot at, and that gives Rosenbaum the chance to catch up to Kyle. So what happened that caused Kyle to shoot Rosenbaum? Did Rosenbaum just run up to him and stop and start yelling at him, talking to him? What exactly happened that caused Rosenbaum, or caused Kyle to shoot Rosenbaum? So you can see here that this is a screenshot. Rosenbaum is up there chasing Kyle. Rittenhouse is in front. And behind them is this guy, Richard McGinnis. This is the guy that's seen taking off his shirt after Rosenbaum is shot and trying to help Rosenbaum, who's been injured. Richard McGinnis is also the same guy that interviewed Kyle earlier in the night, who was asking him, you know, what are you doing at this business? Where Kyle said, I'm here with my med kit. Part of my job is to help injured people. I've got my rifle because if I need to run into danger, if you get injured, I'm running in there to take care of you. That guy interviewed Kyle. He followed Kyle. Remember, this all happened. Remember when Kyle said, as him and Balk went up and said, if you want to follow us, you can. McGinnis followed them. And then McGinnis kind of stayed with Kyle and followed Kyle all the way up the street. This guy works for the Daily Caller. He's a journalist, and that's who McGinnis is. Now, McGinnis has been interviewed about what exactly happened because, as you can see, he was the closest person to the shooting with the best vantage point of what actually happened.
Right before he turned around, I'm not sure if this was a reason why he turned around, but there was a gunshot, and that's actually visible on video. It's not clear whether or not that gunshot was fired into the air or towards Rittenhouse, but Rittenhouse did turn around immediately after that. And at that point, he went from running away to aiming his weapon at Rosenbaum, and I was actually directly behind Rosenbaum. So I took one or two steps to my right as Rosenbaum was lunging for the barrel of the rifle.
So according to Richard McGinnis, who again was the closest eyewitness with the best vantage point to see what actually happened, after Zeminski fires his shot, Rittenhouse, Kyle, turns around and Rosenbaum catches up to him and lunges forward to try to take Kyle's gun. He's lunging to grab Kyle's gun and take it away. That is when Kyle shoots the first shots, or those 4 shots, at Rosenbaum. Some people try to argue, if you see in these videos, while Kyle is running away, you'll see Rosenbaum throw that plastic bag at him. And some people try to say that Kyle shot Rosenbaum because he was scared of a plastic bag. That's not the case. Kyle did not shoot Rosenbaum when he threw that bag. He only shot Rosenbaum when Rosenbaum called up to him and tried to steal his gun. Now remember the context. Rosenbaum had threatened to kill Kyle if he caught him alone. Rosenbaum hid behind a car, and when Kyle walked past, said, "Get him, get him, get him," and charged at him. Kyle ran away and Rosenbaum chased him down. There's a gunshot behind Kyle and Kyle turns around, and now Rosenbaum is trying to steal his gun. That's the context in which Kyle shot his gun in. You can see that the police and even the prosecution admit this is what happened. In the criminal complaint filed against Kyle, they quote McGinnis. This is the charges filed against Kyle, and even the prosecution admits this. It's in their criminal complaint. It does say McGinnis said that the unarmed guy, Rosenbaum, was trying to get the defendant's gun. McGinnis demonstrated by extending both of his hands in a quick grabbing motion and did that as a visual on how Rosenbaum tried to reach for the defendant's gun. Detective Cypress indicates that he asked McGinnis if Rosenbaum had his hands on the gun when the defendant shot. McGinnis said that he definitely made a motion that he was trying to grab the barrel of the gun. McGinnis stated that the defendant pulled it away and then raised it. McGinnis stated that right as they came together, the defendant fired. McGinnis said that when Rosenbaum was shot, he leaned in towards the defendant. So clearly, this is admitted that this is what happened in the criminal complaint filed by the prosecution. You can see here, Rosenbaum gets close to him, watch his arms. So we're going to slow it down a little bit more. Watch his arms. He reaches as if he's reaching for the gun. So again, the eyewitness testimony and the video evidence clearly show that Rosenbaum is going after Kyle's gun. So does this give Kyle the right to act with lethal force in self-defense? Here's the self-defense law 939.48 in Wisconsin, and it says, talks about a person being privileged to threaten or intentionally use force against another for the purpose of preventing or terminating what the person reasonably believes to be an unlawful interference with his or her person by such other person. Now look at this, the actor, this highlighted part. The actor may not intentionally use force which is intended or likely to cause death or great bodily harm unless the actor reasonably believes, that the force is necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself or herself. In other words, in order for Kyle to use lethal force against Rosenbaum, there needs to be evidence that there is a reasonable belief if he does not use that force, then Kyle himself is likely to be killed or have great bodily harm inflicted upon him. Rosenbaum had threatened to kill Kyle, charged at him unprovoked, chased him. While Kyle is running, a gun is fired behind Kyle. When Kyle turns around, Rosenbaum attempts to take Kyle's gun. The implication is clear that if Rosenbaum, the guy who threatened to kill him, charged at him unprovoked, chased him down and tried to steal his gun, the implication is clear that if Rosenbaum got Kyle's gun, he would likely use it on Kyle. So it would be reasonable to believe if he does not act to keep himself from being disarmed, there would be imminent death or great bodily harm. So yes, self-defense. Now, some people argue, well, Rosenbaum was unarmed. The self-defense law doesn't say you can only shoot someone if they themselves have a gun. It only says that there has to be a reasonable belief of imminent death or great bodily harm. There was that in this case. You do not have to have a gun in your hand in order for you to be a threat. There are other ways that you can cause great bodily harm or death to someone other than them having a gun. So saying Rosenbaum was unarmed and Kyle shot an unarmed man simply doesn't matter when it comes to the context of self-defense. So what happened after Rosenbaum? The shooting was justified. Everything's good. So if it was justified, why did Kyle run? What caused Kyle to flee the scene from where Rosenbaum was? Now remember, we saw Kyle stick around for a few seconds. He was there. He was trying to make a phone call. He wasn't running. And then something happened that caused him to run. What was it?
Shot him, man. He laid him out. He laid him out, you guys. He laid him out.
So here's Kyle. This is after the shooting. McGinnis takes his shirt off to help Rosenbaum. Kyle's standing there. Notice he's not running. All of a sudden he looks and he takes off running. What did he see that made him run? Look to the left. You see a giant crowd, the mob, coming at him. And they're screaming, he shot him. Get him. Stop him. Shot him.
This dude running did it. Take screenshots. That dude shot him. That nigga just shot that dude.
Where?
Cranium that boy. He just shot him in.
He's right here in his head.
So as you can see, people begin to yell at him. You can see that people begin to threaten him. He said, the guy on this video right here said, cranium that boy. That doesn't mean treat him nicely and just, kind of apprehend him. It meant beat him, knock him over the head, bash his head in. So you can clearly see that there was a threat from the mob, which is why Kyle ran. He didn't run because he was trying to flee the scene because he had committed murder and was trying to get away with it. He took off running because the crowd was coming at him screaming threats, and that caused him to fear for his life after he had already been attacked the first time, and so he took off running. Now, which direction did he run? How did he run? You can see here, the bottom red dot there is where the first shooting took place. That's where he shot Rosenbaum. Then you can see his path. He runs up the road. Now, up there in the blue dot where it says police vehicles, that's where the police had set up that line. Remember how we said the police had set up a line? You'll see it in a moment when in the other videos. They set up a line where by that gas station where he couldn't get back to the business he was protecting. He had set that line. They had set that line up. He knew the cops were there, and so he was trying to run to the police where the police were. In the middle of that run, you will find out that there was another shooting because he gets attacked. But we'll get there in just a moment. But you can see Kyle tried to stick around after the first shooting. The crowd started swarming him, so he ran in fear for his life and was running towards police.
He's right here in his head, Come on! Why are you shooting?
Now, before we move further, I want to point out where it says Gage POV over there. This is Gage. Gage is the third person Kyle shot. Now, again, we've only had one shooting so far, but Gage is the third person Kyle shot. While Kyle was running away, Gage got out his phone and caught up to Kyle and started recording Kyle and talking to Kyle. And he has a conversation, and you'll hear in just a second, in this conversation, Kyle tells Gage that he's going to police. So Gage knows that Kyle is running to the police. Watch what happens.
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? I want to get police. Who shot? Who shot? Hey, stop him!
So Gage knew that Kyle was running to police. As Kyle's running up, notice he's running up the street. There's tons of people around. If he was an active, violent shooter who wanted to kill people, there's plenty of targets for him to be shooting. But he's not. He's not shooting anybody. He's got his gun aimed down. He's just trying to get to the police. Gage knows this. He's running beside Kyle, talks to Kyle. Kyle tells him, I'm going to police. And Gage, after Kyle keeps running, Gage starts yelling at the crowd to stop him. Now again, in context to the other people saying, get him, get him. Gage starts yelling to people to stop him. Now, Gage knows he's going to police, yet he still circles around and tells the crowd, stop him. And he starts getting the crowd riled up against Kyle because he doesn't want Kyle to get to police. Even though he knows Kyle's going to the police. He could have ran right beside Kyle if he thought Kyle may be a threat. You'll find out in a moment, Gage actually had a gun on him. He could have ran right beside Kyle, kept Kyle right in his line of sights, and ran with Kyle all the way to police to make sure that Kyle got to the police and that he could tell the police that Kyle had shot someone. He chose not to do that. He decided to get the crowd to attack Kyle. Stop him, is what he told the crowd. Now watch what happens. Somebody comes and hits him, knocks his hat off his head. He keeps running. This happens fast, so watch. Kyle trips. This guy kicks him in the head. This guy hits him with a skateboard, grabs his gun, and then this guy pulls a pistol on him. Kyle shoots. 2 people got shot there. The guy that hit him with the skateboard, and then the third person, which is Gage, who pulled a pistol on him. Now you can hear these other gunshots. That's not Kyle. So there's other gunshots happening that is not Kyle. We're going to watch this footage, slow it down a little bit so you can kind of really see what's happening. So let's see it. So here, guy comes and kicks Kyle in the head. Kicks him. Kyle falls back. Then here comes Anthony Huber with the skateboard, hits him in the head, tries to steal and grab his gun. He gets shot in the chest right there. Falls. And then here's Gage. Gage raises his hand like he's going to surrender, but then turns and charges at him. And Kyle shoots into his arm and hits his arm. The other people, notice this guy right here with his hands up backing away. Kyle doesn't shoot him because he's not an active threat. Kyle gets up, starts walking away, doesn't shoot anyone else because no one else is attacking him. And then some other people in the background are firing shots. So again, Kyle got attacked in the very first shooting by Rosenbaum. Then Kyle takes off running because the crowd's threatening him. He takes off running to turn himself into police. He's trying to get to the police. While he's running to the police, someone hits him in the back of the head. A few seconds later, Kyle trips, stumbles to the ground. Someone kicks him in the head. Then Anthony Huber comes up to him, hits him in the back of the head with a skateboard, and tries to take Kyle's gun. Now, some people argue that Anthony Huber was just trying to stop an active shooter, and because Kyle had shot somebody to begin with, Anthony Huber was just trying to be a hero and stop an active shooter. First of all, even if that was the case, Anthony Huber did not see the first shooting. He was not actually there. He was in the crowd that was a little bit away from the shooting and just heard the crowd saying, "Stop him, get him, that guy just shot somebody." So he made an assumption about what had happened without having any details, based solely on the mob yelling at him to stop him, and he made an assumption that was wrong. He attacked the victim of the first situation. Even if he had good intentions, his wrong assumption does not give him the right to assault someone, nor does it take away Kyle's right to self-defense. Now, Gage, the third person Kyle shot, Gage is a different story. Gage, you can't say he was trying to do the right thing. Gage knew that Kyle was going to police. Gage chose to tell the crowd to attack Kyle regardless of knowing that Kyle was going to police. And Gage pulled a pistol on Kyle and charged at him. So no, Gage was not doing the right thing. If you try to argue that Huber was doing the right thing, which is questionable, even if you try to argue he had good motives, his good motives were based on his wrong assumptions. He was attacking the victim. He doesn't get to attack the victim based on his wrong assumptions, and Kyle still has the right to self-defense. Here's some pictures from that night. This is the first guy that was actually kicking Kyle in the head. Here's Anthony Huber hitting Kyle in the back of the head with that skateboard. Now, I want to point out that can kill you. That is lethal force against Kyle. Being hit in the head, depending on where it hits you and how it hits you, that with a skateboard, that can kill you. On top of that, Huber reached down and tried to steal Kyle's gun. Again, when the guy who's beating you, from Kyle's perspective, when the guy who's beating you tries to steal your gun, the implication is they will use it on you. It is when he is trying to steal his gun that Kyle shoots him right in the chest. And then here is Gage. You can clearly see there's a pistol in Gage's hand pointed right at Kyle's head. Gage had had his hands in the air for a second and Kyle didn't shoot. But then Gage brought the pistol down, pointed it at his head and charged at Kyle. And it is only then that Kyle shot him, and Kyle shot him in the bicep. Gage survived. The other two died. So Joseph Rosenbaum had threatened to kill Kyle, charged at him, chased him down, and tried to steal his gun. Anthony Huber chased him down while the mob screamed threats and then beat Kyle in the back of the head with a skateboard and tried to steal his gun. And Gage pulled a pistol on Kyle and pointed it in his face and charged him. All three of these people committed assault against Kyle that would create a reasonable belief of great bodily harm or death, and Kyle shot these three in self-defense, and only after he tried running away. He didn't try to shoot them. He didn't just actively start shooting people. He was acting in self-defense. Clearly acting in self-defense. And what's interesting about this is people try to say, well, Kyle was he was looking for reasons to shoot people, and so it may have been self-defense, but it's still Kyle's fault because he went there with intentions of causing trouble. Well, first of all, there's no evidence that he was causing trouble at all. Nothing he did to Rosenbaum before the shooting would provoke Rosenbaum to attack him or give Rosenbaum the right to attack him. But aside from all of that, if Kyle was looking to shoot people, then he would have shot the person who pepper sprayed him earlier in the night, which we already showed. He wouldn't have ran away from Rosenbaum. He would have just opened fire on Rosenbaum, because the moment Rosenbaum said, "Get him, get him, get him," and started running at him, he would have an excuse for self-defense, so he wouldn't have ran away. He wouldn't have tried to run away from the crowd. He would have just started opening fire. If he was looking to actually kill people and hurt people, after he shot Gage in the arm, he would have taken another shot to actually kill him, but he didn't. He just shot to stop the threat, and at the moment the threat was over, he didn't continue shooting at Gage to kill Gage. There was another guy who raised his hands in the video who was standing right in front of Kyle, but he raised his hand and started backing away, and Kyle didn't shoot him. Why? Because he wasn't a threat. Kyle clearly was not just randomly shooting people or looking to kill people. He only shot the people who violently assaulted him. So what happens after the shooting? After he shot that third person, he gets up, other people start shooting. That's not Kyle. You see his gun's down. Somebody's shooting in the background, don't know who. Kyle starts walking. Notice how the police are way up. They didn't see the shooting. Kyle is walking towards the police. Here comes Kyle up the street. Notice how he puts his hands in the air.
Hey, he just shot them.
Now somebody from the back is yelling, saying, dude shot them.
He just shot all them down there.
Now notice the police, they don't know what's going on. There's no guarantee the police are even hearing what's being said. They just know there's something going on, some kind of incident. So the SWAT team goes in. Kyle's walking with his hands in the air.
Someone injured straight ahead.
Notice that the police, as they pass by Kyle here, say someone injured straight ahead. They don't even know what's going on. There's no evidence that they really had details that there was an actual shooting. They didn't have any idea what was going on at this point. They just know they're hearing a crowd. People are yelling. They're trying to figure out if someone's injured. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They don't have the details. That's important to keep in mind, and you'll see why in just a moment. But keep watching for just another moment, and then we'll talk about this. They're yelling at him to get out of the road. All right, so what's important to realize is that the police have no idea what's going on. And before you say, well, surely they heard the gunshots, people had been firing fireworks, all kinds of things. So there's no way for them to know that those were absolute gunshots. They don't know what's going on. They were far away. They didn't see any of it. They know someone's injured. They don't have the details. They have no idea Kyle's involved. Kyle's blocking the road from them getting down the street. And so they yell at him, get out of the road, get out of the road. And then he runs away, right? So Kyle was actually trying to go to the police to turn himself in to say what had happened. They didn't know what was going on. They had no idea he was the shooter, and they yelled at him to get out of the way. Some people have argued that the police were in on this and just let Kyle go. They didn't know he was the shooter. They didn't just let him go knowing he's the shooter. Oh, he's white. White people get to shoot people, and it's not a big deal. You can just let him go. That's not what happened. They did not know he was the shooter. They didn't even really understand what had happened other than someone was injured. That's it. So they did not just let him go. That's a complete lie. What we do know is that he went and turned himself in. So since he couldn't turn himself into those police, they were just trying to get to the injured people. He didn't know what to do. He obviously 17. What ended up happening before we get into this, he ended up getting a hold of his friend Dominic Black, who was also there. Remember, Dominic was there, and he ends up getting a hold of him, and he says, let's go. And he gets in Dominic's car. Dominic drives him back to Antioch, Illinois. Again, 30-minute drive. So by the time he meets up with him, 30-minute drive, gets in the car with him, drives home. Obviously, I'm sure a little panicked, telling Dominic what happened. He gets home and he tells his mom what happened. They talk about what happened, and then he turns himself in to Antioch police. I want to point out that he turned himself in at 2:37 a.m., actually slightly before 2:37 a.m., because it was at 2:37 a.m. that the sergeant received a telephone call stating that Kyle was there to talk about the shooting. So Kyle went to Antioch Police, the Antioch Police Department, to turn himself in just a few hours after the shooting. You can see here that the shooting took place at 11:45 p.m. That was the first shooting at Car Source. So after the first shooting, then he got down the road, then there was another shooting, then he got to police. Then by the time he got to, actually leave the scene and get in the car with Dominic, plus the 30-minute drive home, it was less than 2 hours from the time he got home to the time he turned himself in. And a lot of people think he went home and went to sleep and he got to sleep in his own bed that night. Nope, he turned himself in less than 2 hours after being home, and less than 3 hours after the very first shooting occurred. So Kyle was not a fugitive. He was not running from justice. He turned himself in pretty quickly after getting back to Antioch. He tried to turn himself in right there at Kenosha, but the police didn't know what was going on, and they yelled at him, get out of the way, and he didn't know what to do. So he went home, and then after talking to his mom, went to the police station to turn himself in. There are several things that have happened since Kyle's arrest, but those are going to be discussed in a future video. Nothing that has happened after changes any of the facts in the case that clearly show self-defense. So there's things that have happened after, people raised money for his bail that caused controversy. He had a $2 million bail set, but ultimately none of that matters to whether it was self-defense or murder. Every bit of evidence from the actual events themselves clearly show Kyle was acting in self-defense. So that's the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting. I hope this has been a lot eye-opening for you. If you didn't know all of these details, hopefully all of the evidence is there. If you're talking to someone who doesn't believe that Kyle acted in self-defense, who thinks Kyle is a murderer, who thinks he's a domestic terrorist who was there to cause trouble, or some kind of racist person who just wanted to hurt Black Lives Matter protesters, if you are talking to someone, share this video with them. Show them this video. Break down the evidence for them. Absolutely 100% it was self-defense. Thank you for coming to the channel. Go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment below. Love to discuss the facts with you in the comments. Until next time, enjoy your day. Thanks so much for watching. For more videos, click subscribe and hit that notification bell. And if you enjoyed the video, click that like button. See you next time.